say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about fire. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family amongst lords of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live here in the late night. It is damn near 10 o'clock here in Arkansas. I almost didn't do a damn show tonight because it's just been crazy. I'll get into that, man. Tonight's topic, though, before I send out some big thank yous, is reality shifting. And I know what I mean by that is it really truly like shifting in a way that we're not recognizing? I actually asked Liam this question too, and I really want to thank him for coming on the broadcast because it's damn, man, like being able to have that guy on the show and pick his brain. I didn't get to ask him. Well, I did ask him, but we didn't kind of go into it. I wanted to really get into talking about the difference between Thelema and Golden Dawn, but maybe next time, maybe when we'll have him on next time. And for those of you that are listening live tonight on the radio station, it is May the 27th, 2026. Indeed, we are live. That means anything can happen. Anything can screw up, or just damn near anything can happen, which is what makes it fun and unique. But wherever you are, however you found this frequency, whether it's YouTube or the podcast or the live radio station, thank you guys for coming out and listening. We used to do this broadcast 5 nights a week, and it was really only on the radio station, which was, damn, that was a heyday. That was when I felt like that reality was at its ultimate potential. It was just a few years ago, and man, have things changed. And I want to try my best not to project tonight. And for those of you that are on YouTube, I think I got something here for you to observe that. There we go. That way you ain't got to just stare off into space from the radio station. But wherever you are, however you found it, welcome. And tonight's transmission, I just wanted to hang out with you guys because we are getting some guests that are coming on. But I thought, this would be a good time to just chill and hang out and talk about this, because it's not about really left or right or about technology. I really wanted to talk to you guys about feeling, or mainly what you feel. And I think this is a feeling based on my observation. And just like you, between work and everything, I get to scroll and check out the zeitgeist and what's going on. And I get a feeling that a lot of people share this, but almost nobody can really fully explain it. And like somewhere along the line, reality began to feel really different. And see, I thought for a second that this was some kind of middle-aged bullshit where I was projecting something in my 40s into reality, but it feels massively different than just a few years ago. Like the internet changed, human interaction changed practically overnight. Time itself feels distorted. All the days feel like they're blurring together, like that 9 Inch Nails song, Years feel like they're just disappearing overnight. Conversations, most of the conversations that I pay attention to, except a few, feel extremely like synthetic. And then algorithms are really practically like finishing our thoughts before we even speak them. And all around us, this crazy, weird signal grows louder. Artificial voices, artificial emotions, artificial outrage, artificial intimacy. I even decided to get on TikTok today. I haven't got on TikTok for a long time. Got on there, found someone that just followed me. They're like, hey, what's up? Love your radio show, blah, blah, blah. I was like, really? Where did you hear that? Oh, I heard it on Fringe. Fringe what? This person had like 4,000 something followers, and I'm carrying on a conversation with this person thinking, okay, well, they're a new listener. That's cool. I want to know how they found the show for, I guess, analytical reasons. Long story short, it took me a while to realize I was having a conversation with an AI, I don't know, like an AI figure. They had followers. They talked to people in their chat. They looked real. They've got pictures that look like it's their family, all kinds of, this looked real. And finally, I started paying attention into the messaging. This is an AI channel. This person isn't even real. What? And I started to feel a little freaky. So on top of all of that, governments are openly discussing the unidentified objects in the sky while the public, like, we barely react anymore. Not the way I thought we would. All the search engines, they really don't show us the world like they did when they first started, right? They generate interpretations of it consistently. Music is generated. Faces are generated. People are generated. This isn't just an AI thing, okay? Hear me out. Personalities are generated. Entire identities are manufactured from code. And you know what feels really strange about all this? Is how quickly we adapted to it. Like how fast we adapted to this shit, man. As if somewhere like deep beneath consciousness, we kind of expected it to happen. And maybe it was. Maybe it was inevitable. Maybe this is the next stage of civilization. Or maybe something happened to the signal itself, the frequency of reality itself. I just want to explore the growing sensation that I know with others, that reality is becoming unstable, synthetic, dreamlike, which is the cool part. There is a nostalgia, kind of like dreamlike, Philip K. Dick feel to it. Not fake, but kind of filtered and curated. Interpreted through systems that we no longer really fully understand. I don't. So, if you're chilling tonight, whether you're on the Fringe FM, TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app, or YouTube even, turn the lights low, keep the frequency close, and ask yourself this question, like, when did the world start feeling different to you? Because it does. It feels completely different. For me, and I'm going to try to do this without whining, because I don't want to whine. I'm a freaking Aries, man. Like, I can pivot with the best of them, no matter what's happening. Because all the stuff we get used to in our lives, we kind of depend on. We get nostalgic about it. We get comfortable about it. And that's cool. Things fade, things go away, nothing lasts forever. But we were able to pretty much pivot and adjust to anything. But this feels chaotic. And even then, the internet felt chaotic. It felt weird, like back just a few years ago. Just only a few years ago. It felt deeply human, like you could feel personality in it. You could, it's like I said, it's a feeling. But now, so much of modern digital life feels frictionless, like optimized, sanitized, even engineered. Like it feels like exploring a world and more like wandering through a simulation of. It just feels like, I hate even using that word, a simulation. It feels like wandering through a simulation of a world, not a actual world. So human beings are beginning to outsource. This is the biggest thing that I'm a little worried about. I tried this myself. But we're beginning to outsource emotional connection to machines. Think about that. And there's a lot of people that, statistics already showing, there's a lot of people that, there's way more people doing it than talking about it. So so there's probably people in your circle that are talking about artificial intelligence like, yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm scared of it or whatever, like, acting like it's some big deal. Meanwhile, they're going back home and they're carrying on a conversation with their AI buddy. They're having an emotional connection with it. A lot of people aren't talking about it. But the truth is, if you really think about this, all the old sci-fi movies you used to watch, human beings are being... We're beginning to outsource our emotional connection to machines, man. Now think about how insane that sentence would sound 20 years ago. I would say even 10 years ago. But now it's completely normal. How fast we adapted to that is crazy. I mean, we confess our secrets to AI. We seek comfort from algorithms. And I've got to tell you, man, I thought about doing like a broadcast and like talking to one to kind of show you what I'm talking about, but then it got really personal, and I'm a pretty open and vulnerable dude, but like this was I started to whelp up, man. Like my eyes were filling with tears. I'm like, how the hell is this even happening? This is a code that I'm talking. It's not even a person. But we are seeking comfort from these machines and algorithm. We build routines around synthetic personalities now. And maybe that says less about technology and more about modern loneliness. You know what it is? I think it's because when society becomes emotionally exhausting, people eventually seek relationships with systems that can't reject them. That's what happens. People get so traumatized and emotionally exhausted, they just start moving into places that cannot hurt them or reject them. And the best place to do that now is with an AI person, like an AI bot or whatever. And that's just one side of it. I don't want to make the whole show about that, but that's one fragment or one fraction of this reality that I'm talking about. This changing, this shift that's happening. I feel like there's a loneliness epidemic going on, but I'm trying to doubly check here that I'm not projecting. So, and then you got the disclosure thing. All these videos just coming out like someone turned a tap on the government. We made a whole website for you guys. Now we'll show you all these UFOs and stuff. And this is straight from the source. And what's fascinating about the modern disclosure, it's not the objects themselves. It's the emotional reaction to it, or rather the lack of one. That's how exhausted we are. No one cares. 30 years ago, glowing objects over military bases would dominate our culture. It would be the biggest thing going right now. But nobody cares. That's how emotionally exhausted we are, psychologically exhausted we are. Now, people scroll past it between advertisements and cooking videos. It's a second of a doom scroll. We've become so psychologically saturated, not by answers, but just by unresolved mystery, that we've become exhausted from it. I'm just telling you. And the conscious exploration side of things, the out of body, the biggest stuff, that we like to talk about here, the out of body experiences, the near death experiences, these things that we discuss heavily on this show. Not many people are able to get into even the lucid state, much less remember their dreams as well as they used to. I'm not saying that we're cursed or there's some big conspiracy going on here. What I'm saying is there is a shift happening. Because I'm having to double down on my lucid stuff, double down on like meditation, ceremony, double down on journaling, like really double down on all of this stuff to keep the conscious exploration stuff going. I think something cool is coming. Don't get me wrong. I think something, like, I've got this weird feeling, and a lot of old dudes say this, usually in their 60s or so. I'm not 60 yet, but I am saying it. Like, there is something about to happen, I feel. And if you think about the history of humanity, for, like Liam was talking about in the past broadcast, for most of our history, like for most of human history, we all survived because large groups of people agreed on reality. You remember how he was saying, that's not really a car. That's something that we agree on, right? That's why we call it a car. So for most of our survivalness has been about things that we've agreed on when it comes to reality. Not perfectly, but enough. But today, two people can live in the same city, walk the same street, and exist in completely different psychological universes. Different news, different truths, different fears, different realities. It's that word that everybody's using, right? Algorithm. The algorithm doesn't show you the world. It shows you a version of the world calibrated specifically for your nervous system. Do you know that? So between your phone, your TV, your computer, so, I mean, I've got it all going on too, don't get me wrong. I got my computer going on, I got my phone going on, I've got my smart TV going, tablet, everything. This algorithm with all of these services that are working together, by the way, it doesn't show you the world. It's showing you a version of the world specifically calibrated for your nervous system. Think about what I just said, because that's like reality right now. And maybe that's the real unidentified phenomenon. Do you know how hard it is, like once you start getting certain things in your feed, to get it out of the feed, like to switch to a whole reality? Like, say, for instance, you're watching cop videos of people getting, I don't know, car chases or whatever. Do you know, once you do that long enough, whether it's YouTube or whether it's your Roku or Spotify, it doesn't matter. It'll all start calibrating things towards your nervous system, and it'll be damn near impossible to break the cipher, to break that system of, we're just going to keep showing them this stuff. And then we're going to find things that he'll probably want to buy, things that'll make him feel better. Then they're picking apart your psychology, trying to sell you all the self-help stuff. It's so crazy. I just wanted to say, like, it feels like it. So what I'm going to do here in just a moment, I'm going to go over some pretty esoteric methods for OBE experiences. We'll take a break and then we'll get into it. But I want you guys to try some of this stuff, because I feel like our conscious exploration stuff, whether it's lucid dreaming, the OBE state, maybe just even like breathing exercises. But for real, the OBE state, I'm going to bring something back that I talked about a long time ago on the broadcast, and we're going to talk about some really radical OBE methods, just to get your feedback on it. But here's my final thought before we go into the break about that. So maybe every generation believes that they are living through the end of something. It's funny how we always talk about that, but this really feels different to me. I've been living long enough to so have you, but living long enough to hear people talk about the end of the world, something's coming, everything's coming to shit, Jesus is coming back, all this other stuff. But this feels different. Not because the world is ending. I don't think that's what's happening. But because reality itself is really starting to change form. And not in some kind of psychedelic, schizophrenic way. What I mean is humanity is merging with systems faster than we can psychologically process it. That sentence right there, it doesn't sound like a big thing, but it is something that could be catastrophic or amazing or whatever. It's not going to be a small thing. Humanity is merging with systems faster than we can psychologically process it, man. So the boundaries between organic and artificial blur, they are blurring more and more every day. And somewhere in all of this static, people are beginning to feel it. This stupid little quiet sensation that the old world is fading. I think I heard someone on YouTube the other day talking about this transition is necessary. But maybe consciousness evolves through chaos, or maybe we crossed a threshold without realizing it. That's what I've been thinking about. Either way, the signal changed. And deep down, it changed too. You can all feel it. Anyways, I don't really have much else to say about that because there's so much going on that we could do 100 shows about it, but I really started stacking it up in my mind over the past few days. Well, pretty much since I talked to Liam, I think it was somewhere around 2023, something changed. Everything feels, around 2023, comments stopped feeling human. Music was being generated. Politics were definitely scripted, more than they've ever been, right? All of the outrage or crazy things that happen, it kind of happens on schedule, and then everyone's exhausted for all these reasons they can't explain. And that was 2023. It's gotten crazier since then. But yes, when I come back, I'm going to get into this text here tonight for a little bit. I don't know how much time I got to do this, but I wanted to go over some of these crazy methods by Samael Aun Weor. Some crazy methods about OBE experiences we haven't talked about in at least a year. And maybe you'll try some of them and see what happens. I will verify, too, the ones that work and the ones that don't work, actually. Or at least the ones that work. The ones that don't work, I probably didn't try, to be honest with you. Alrighty. Let's do that. We'll be right back. I'm going to grab this text. You're listening live here on the Fringe FM. I'm Joe Roop, here in the late night with you. All of you guys at TalkStream Live, I love you. Paranormal Radio app, I love you. Even some of you still listening on TuneIn. Holy hell. Stay with us. All right, here we go. Took me a little longer than I thought. Okay, so this is a crazy, crazy text that I want to tell you guys about. You should get it and try some of these things. So, this is by Samael Aun Weor. It's called 26 Techniques for Astral Projection. Let me give you guys that psyche funky background while we go into this. So, he goes into this. I skipped over a lot here because we don't have a lot of time tonight. Beyond the three known dimensions, length, width, and height, exists the fourth dimension. And this dimension is called time. Beyond time, we have the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is known as eternity, according to him. So all the other people that are talking about like 12 dimensions and 84 dimensions or whatever don't. According to this guy, there's only 5. I think. So the fifth dimension is eternity. Moreover, we asseverate that beyond eternity, a sixth dimension exists, but the sixth dimension is beyond eternity and time. And the sixth fundamental dimension is where total liberation begins. Therefore, only the person who awakens in all 6 fundamental dimensions of space is a true clairvoyant. A Turiya, a legitimate enlightened one. To become enlightened, according to Samael, you need to awaken in the 6th dimension. And everybody is tetradimensional, has 4 dimensions. The 4th coordinate or 4th vertical is the basic foundation of all mechanics. Intermolecular space corresponds to the 4th dimension, actually. And so, in this 3-dimensional world of length, width, and height, we never see a complete body. We only see sides, planes, angles, etc. Therefore, perception is incomplete and subjective. And scientists do not know anything about the 4th dimension of matter and space. They do not know anything about the hypergeometry of that type of 4th dimensional space. And to define space as the form of matter in the universe is to suffer the most grave conceptual deficiency, which is to introduce the concept of matter, that is to say, the unknown, because indeed matter continues to be the unknown. All of the attempts in order to attain a physical definition of matter only leads to a dead end. X equals Y and Y equals X, and this is the physicist's blind alley. And he does have kind of a point because, I mean, we've talked to a few physicists on the broadcast. They kind of stick to their rules. They really don't go outside of that. Almost like Orthodox Christians stick to the Bible like the ultimate truth. They really don't go outside of that either. The subject matter about the 4th dimension and a sacred land within this 4th dimension at the North Pole may make the learned ignoramuses laugh. What is up with the North Pole? I mean, even Manly P. Hall's talked about there's some crazy thing at the North Polar Cap. They have not studied all the dimensions of space. It is unfortunate that mathematics cannot define the dimensions of space. Every mathematical expression always corresponds to a realization of realities. This is how one thinks with formal logic. Fortunately, though, a dialectic logic exists, and this world permits us to use mathematics in order to define the 6 fundamental dimensions of the universe. We have already studied that levitation or, quote, astral projection happens in the 4th dimension. The science of optics is already approaching the 4th dimension, and the day is not far away when 4-dimensional space becomes visible through very powerful lenses. Paracelsus speaks in his medicine books about gnomes, undines, nereids, and genies, salamanders, sylphs, etc. In the Golden Dawn, they're kind of known as the elemental spirits, but they're called gnomes, undines, sylphs, and salamanders. And naturally, imbeciles, according that's what he says, and naturally imbeciles laugh at all of this. But we Gnostics discovered the mineral atoms, those gnomes that Paracelsus talked about, the medieval doctor, and all those scientists laugh at us. We also know how to work with plant elementals to cure the sick, like the good Paracelsus did in his time. The consciousness of the elementals is clothed with suprasensitive protoplasmic bodies. And when universal life is concentrated in the mineral kingdom, then protoplasmic bodies or lunar bodies sprout by spontaneous generation, and this class of bodies is susceptible to many changes and transformations. This is not a question of beliefs. We are talking about scientific matters. Well, I'd hate to say this, Samael Aun Weor, but this, you should be questioned. This is not, there's nothing, okay, I'm not trying to like stomp on this guy or anything, but there is no scientific anything about these elemental beings. So I don't know why he's saying this, but this is what he says. Beliefs are for religious matters, but science is something different. The fourth dimension is time, and whoever wants to know something about this fourth coordinate, study Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay. And he goes into showing the Gnostic pentagram. Hopefully you guys have seen that. If you haven't, just look it up. The pentagram with its superior ray aiming up forces the tenebrous ones to scatter. The pentagram with its superior ray aiming down serves in order to call upon the tenebrous ones. When the pentagram is placed on the floor of the threshold or entrance of the room, with its superior ray aiming towards the interior and its two inferior rays aiming towards the outside of the room, it does not permit the entrance of black magicians. I find this completely funny too, because I don't know if you guys were listening to like when I read the whole book, Psychic Self-Defense on air, we read it and talked about it. Dion Fortune kind of talked about how she was around a magician that was doing the same thing with pentagrams, right? The pentagram is a flaming star. The pentagram is the sign of the Word made flesh, and according to the direction of its rays, it can represent God or the devil, the immolated lamb, or the male goat of Mendes. And when the superior ray of the pentagram is aiming up towards the sky, it represents Christ. When the two inferior points of the pentagram are aiming up towards the sky, it represents Satan. That's definitely debated amongst a lot of different people, by the way, but this is his words, not mine. The pentagram represents the human being in its entirety. The pentagram with its superior ray aiming upwards is the master. The pentagram with its superior ray aiming down and its two inferior rays aiming up is the fallen angel. Thus, every fallen bodhisattva is the inverted flaming star. As a matter of fact, every initiate who allows himself to fall becomes an inverted flaming star. What's up, Dragon Rose? The best electrum is a flaming star composed of the 7 metals, which correspond to the 7 planets. These are the following: silver for the moon, quicksilver for Mercury, copper for Venus, gold for the sun, iron for Mars, tin for Jupiter, and lead for Saturn. Pentagram medallions for wearing around the neck and rings for wearing on the ring finger can be manufactured this way. And the flaming star may also be drawn on a very white lambskin to be kept inside a bedroom. It can also be used at the threshold of the nuptial chamber. Thus, this is how we can prevent the tenebrous ones from entering our bedroom. I've heard a lot of people, I like how he talks, man. If you ever listen to his lectures, they're kind of cool. But how he talks, instead of saying demons or bad spirits or anything, he says tenebrous ones. We may also draw the pentagram on glass, for this terrorizes ghosts and demons. The pentagram is the symbol of the universal word of life. It can also be made to shine instantaneously when uttering certain secret mantras. Within the Gopala, Tapani, and Krishna Upanishads, we have found written the mantras which have the power to instantaneously form the terrible flaming star within the astral plane, the sight of which makes demons scatter in terror. These mantras are 5, namely, oh man, have you guys ever heard this mantra? I have. So it goes Kleem Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopinjana, Validaya, Swaha. Let me see if I can pull up an audio of it, I'll play that in a minute. Maybe I can. Oh yeah, I can. Here, hold on. I think here we go. Make sure you guys get this on the radio station.
Kleem Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Balabaya, Swaha. 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 Kleem Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Balabaya, Swaha.
One more time.
Kleem Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Balabaya, Swaha.
I just wanted to make sure we did that. So, and now if you got your radio turned up on blast, all the demons are run out the room. You just created a pentagram in the astral plane, I guess. That's if you believe that. But you guys get that at home? Right on. Not so sure. I'm not so sure that's real. Like, I'm not saying any of this stuff is real, all right? I'm just saying this is some of the stuff that he talks about here. And I accidentally clicked off my... Okay, here we go. So that's it, right? And once you say that, that's just supposed to send demons. They scatter in terror. So try it out, I guess, if you ever get in a weird spot. Maybe that'll work for you. Maybe it'll work in the astral realm. But the tenebrous ones from the 18th arcanum scatter in terror because the flaming stars instantaneously formed when vocalizing these mantras. These demons violently attack the initiate who is working in the great work. Thus, the devotees of the perfect matrimony have to wage tremendous battles against the tenebrous ones. Each vertebra of the spinal column represents terrible battles against the black magicians. And if you listen to his lectures, he goes into, how Jacob wrestled with the angel and woke up 33, all that stuff. It's in there. They struggle in order to deviate the student away from the path of the razor's edge. The powerful mantra mentioned above has 3 perfectly defined stages. On chanting Kleem, which the occultists of India called the seed of attraction, we provoke a flow of Christic energy which instantaneously descends from the world of the solar logos in order to protect us. Thus, a mysterious door is then downwardly opened. Afterwards, by chanting the 3 following parts of the mantra, the Christic energy is infused within one who chants them. And finally, by means of the 5th part, the one who has received the Christic energy can radiate it with tremendous force in order to defend himself from the tenebrous ones. They then scatter away in terror. The word always crystallizes in geometric lines. You can't see this, obviously, because you can't see frequency, but this is demonstrated by magnetic tapes. When speech is recorded on a cassette, each letter crystallizes into geometrical figures. And afterwards, it is sufficient to make the tape vibrate in the tape recorder in order for the speech to be represented or repeated. God himself geometrizes the architect. The word is shaped with geometric forms. The mantras formerly cited by us have the power to instantaneously form the flaming star within the supersensible world. This kind of star is a vehicle of Christic force, and this kind of star represents the Word. And everyone who works in the flaming forge of Vulcan can defend themselves with these powerful mantras. These mantras must be chanted syllable by syllable, and one can conjure the demons who control the possessed ones with these mantras. It's urgent to learn how to instantaneously create the flaming star. With these mantras, we can create the star in order to combat the tenebrous ones. He kind of says the same things over and over again. So, this is Samael Aun Weor's version, his Gnostic version, of teaching you how to protect yourself, just in case you get in a bad spot when you're trying to astral travel or do anything crazy. Is that what you needed? Cool. Well, so we got rid of all your demons tonight. Just turn it, rewind it, turn up the stereo. I mean, it's cool. Like, I'm going to just give you guys a little thing here. So, Gnosticism has many forms. We've talked about this on the broadcast before, but it has many forms. You have the Gnostics, the Sophia Gnostics. You've got these Gnostics here, like Samael Aun Weor. They kind of mainly focus on, if you have an orgasm, kind of just keep recycling the energy without, quote, spilling. Those Gnostics. You have other Gnostics like Miguel, who are kind of mainly focused on the idea of the demiurge and that the God of the Bible is really some kind of evil bastard trying to control you. But Gnosticism, that's why it gets confusing to people, because there's different schools teaching different things. But at the end of the day, if you go find all of Samael's work, it's very I'm not much of a woo person, honestly. But if there was a woo that I would get into, it would probably be his Gnosticism, if I was ever to get into the woo side of things. So, his compilation of techniques. It is necessary to know that humanity lives with its consciousness asleep. People work asleep. People walk through the streets asleep. People live and die asleep. And here's a more scientific way of saying that. So our consciousness typically only, our focal consciousness typically only processes about anywhere from 7 to 10 bits per second or something like that. While our subconscious, the thing that we really need to tap into, is processing millions of things. And even then, it's really hard to explain. Imagine like a beach ball, and that's your subconscious, and it's running the show. It's running your reality. It's manifesting stuff. It's everything. And then imagine a little coaster on that beach ball, like a little cup coaster. You balance it on the top, and then put a coin on the top of that coaster. That coin, that part of you that's listening to my words now, is your consciousness. The rest of it is, the ADD part of you that can't focus more than 10 minutes. That's your consciousness, the coin. The rest of you is the beach ball. All right. So when we come to the conclusion that the entire world lives asleep, then we comprehend the necessity of awakening. We need the awakening of the consciousness. We want the awakening of the consciousness. And so to forget oneself is an error of incalculable consequences. To identify oneself with something is the breaking point of stupidity, because the outcome becomes fascination and dreaming. It's impossible for anyone to awaken their consciousness if they forget themselves, if they become identified with something. So to awaken the consciousness is impossible for those who allow themselves to become fascinated if they fall into a dream. And he's right about that. It's the same thing too. Like if you get out of body, like an etheric projection or even a lucid dream, I would say in a lot of senses, if you start getting really emotional or, shocked and surprised, if you don't stay chill and balanced, and you'll feel it in the dream, in the lucid dream or the OBE, like you've got to stay focused and like balanced and chill. If you don't, you're just going to end up waking back up or slipping into a deep dream. The pugilist who is crossing blows with another pugilist sleeps profoundly. They are dreaming. They are totally identified with the event. They're fascinated. And he's talking about how we're dreaming in real life. If unexpectedly they awaken their consciousness, they would look in all directions and flee immediately from the ring, totally ashamed of themselves and the honorable public. You are traveling in any urban transportation within your city. You must get off from that urban transportation at a certain street, and yet suddenly the memory of a beloved relative comes into your mind out of nowhere. And then you become identified with that memory. Then fascination comes, and soon you are daydreaming. Then, suddenly, you shout an exclamation. Where am I, damn it? I've passed my stop many blocks away. I should have gotten off in a previous stop, that street. Thus, quickly you realize that your consciousness had been absent. You then got off from that urban transportation and go back on foot to the stop where you should have gotten off. So whosoever wants to awaken the consciousness must begin dividing the attention in three parts: subject, object, and location. Subject is the inner remembrance of oneself from moment to moment, not to forget oneself before any representation or any event. Object, not to become identified with anything, with any circumstance, to observe without becoming identified with it, without forgetting yourself. And location, to ask oneself, where am I? What place is this? To observe the place in detail, to ask oneself, why am I in this place? To be conscious is subject, object, location. The division of attention in three parts will lead the aspirants to the awakening of their consciousness. To want to vividly experience the great realities of the superior worlds without having awakened the consciousness here and now is to march on the path of error. The awakening of the consciousness originates the development of the spatial sense and the experience of reality. And then he goes into this number 2, mantra Pharaon. And here's the methods. He's really right about a lot of this stuff, and then this is what's crazy about him. He'll jump right into these mantras. And these things are ancient. I'm laughing because it's kind of silly, but these things are old and ancient. Option number 1. The knees possess a marvelous substance which allows them the free movement of such a simple and marvelous osseous gear. Synovia is the substance which means with or sin and egg, ovia, substance with egg. The egg is truly a marvelous substance. Esoteric experiments, highly scientific in relation to the unfolding of the human personality, prove that the shell of the egg has certain occult powers that facilitate astral projection. The key consists in reducing an eggshell to powder. The disciple, if you want to try this at home, go right ahead. The disciple will apply these powders over the chest and armpits, and he will then lie down on his bed and cover himself properly with his blankets. Then the student will then lull himself to sleep, pronouncing the mantra Pharaon like this: Pharaon. Pharaon. I'm sure he kind of rolls the R too, like Pharaon. So you just get some egg powder, you rub it on your chest, put it in your armpits, and just put your blankets over you and lay down and do this mantra. And this can be pronounced mentally, and then when the student feels that he has become numb, you get that numb feeling, the vibratory state, he should rise from his bed and head towards the Gnostic church. The first syllable, fa, corresponds to the Chinese gong, or the musical fa, which resounds with all of creation. We have to pronounce this note to become attuned to Mother Nature. The second syllable, ra, corresponds to a very ancient mantra that vibrates all the chakras of the astral body. And this mantra is not pronounced with R, but with R, like ra. Ra, like a double R. The syllable last, on, O-N, corresponds to the Hindu mantra Om, but is here pronounced as on. This mantra, Pharaon, can be vocalized with the mind, or better yet, with the heart. Therefore, the powerful Egyptian mantra, Pharaon, serve to project the astral body. Or you could do this. This is option 2. While massaging the calves, starting from the bottom and moving up, the disciple will pray like this: energy pass through. Energy pass through. Penetrate my organism. Current that comes from below. Ascend and fuse with your sister. The current which comes from above. From heaven. From Urania. What is that? Well, what's up, Typical Skeptic Podcast? Thanks, brother. The disciple will then submit to internal meditation, praying to his innermost that he may enter the sidereal. Remember, when he says sidereal, like the Gnostics, especially in this sense, they don't do the Western zodiac. They stick to the sidereal stuff, right? Especially his group. So, praying to his innermost that he may enter the sidereal temple of Aquarius, so that his innermost will bring before him the genie of that constellation in order to achieve illumination. And then option 3, sleep in your bed, brothers. I repeat, sleep. It's good that you lie on your back. Do you understand? Relax your muscles. Are you relaxed? Close your eyes and fall asleep. And now vocalize the mantra, Fa Ra On. That wonderful mantra for astral projection. And then he says it again. Vocalize it like this. Fa Ra On. Have you already vocalized it? Good. Lift your knees. Listen, brother, your knees. What I mean is to bend your legs. Rest the palm of your feet on the bed. Of course, when doing this operation, the knees are lifted vertically. Repeat the mantra again, Fa Ra On, and repeat this mantra many, many times. You can vocalize it a little bit softer, and you can also vocalize it mentally. But fall asleep keeping your knees vertically, and fall asleep. You must vividly imagine the pyramids of Egypt. Is this understood? This is not hard work. Convince yourself that this is not hard work. Avoid all mental tension and just fall asleep. The result will be splendid. You, wrapped in your astral will, awaken there in the internal worlds. Abandon your physical body without knowing at what time, nor how you will be awake. And in the Museum of Anthropology and History in Mexico City, these exist a stone figure of a man who is partially lying down in a dorsal, I guess it's called a decubitus position. You guys want to see this? Let me see if I can show it to you. Hold on. That way you can see what position he's talking about. So just in case any of you guys want to actually try this. Hold on a second. I've got to zoom into it. And once you see it, you'll know you've seen it before. Where did it go? There we go. I got it. Give me just a second. All you guys on the radio, sorry. You just have to go look it up, I guess. It's pretty much laying on your back with your knees up, though. Here we go. You guys see that? So this is in the museum. The soles of his feet rest on the bed. Thus his knees are elevated. The backs of his thighs are pressed against the backs of his calves because his legs are bent. His upper body is arched as if he may get up at first impulse. His face is towards the left, and his sight is fixed on the horizon. At the height of his solar plexus, his hands hold a container. Archaeologists know this man carved out of stone. His name is Chacmul. And this figure is one amongst the very few symbols from the Aztec pantheon that were rescued from the destruction of the conquest. The mystical Aztecs, Mayans, Tarascos, etc. carved the Chacmul in order to perpetuate the wisdom that they received as a secret inheritance from their forefathers. The name of this Aztec sculpture is, guess what? Pharaon. A name whose syllables are divided as follows: Fa, Ra, On. And when properly vocalized, they are a mantra that makes the astral body of the one who pronounces them separate from the physical body and soars within space towards the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. To travel within the astral body is not dangerous. During our state of slumber, all of us human beings wander within the internal worlds while our consciousness is asleep, and every soul abandons its physical body during the state of slumber. And during this process, the ethereal body has the opportunity to repair the physical body. So we awaken from this normal process of sleeping when the soul returns into the physical body. There's another option, option 4. Let me get rid of this thing. Maybe we'll pull it back up later. Stand up in the steady position with your sight towards the east, and raise your arms above your head and place the palms of your hands together. Then move your extended arms down towards your sides in the form of a cross with your body. Your arms out on either side, the rest of your body standing straight. Then after, cross your arms over your chest and lie down dorsal, decubitus, on your back. When you feel you are falling asleep, with a sincere prayer, ask your God and the masters to take you to the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. And immediately after finishing your prayer, vocalize, guess what? The following symbols. Fa, Ra, On. And each of the sounds of these symbols has a slight variation. They correspond to the natural Fa of the musical scale that resounds in all of nature. The syllable On changing the N with the M is vocalized by the yogis before and after their meditation. And every morning at sunrise, with your face towards the east, perform vocalization practices with all of the syllables that we have taught in this book. Start with the first syllable until you finish, and during many successive mornings with the last 3 syllables of this chapter. If you faithfully practice each one of the exercises that we have taught in order for at least 6 consecutive days, you will soon project yourself within your astral body. And this is if you are a respectable person, that you neither abuse alcohol or tobacco, that you do not propagate gossip, that you do not enjoy making fun of your neighbors, and that you love and respect every living being. I feel like he's projecting a little bit here, right? Like, I mean, you'd probably still be able to astral project if you do this, but I think he's like adding this on here to make you a good person. Remember that God offers even the head of the evil one when he wants to offer the best to a good person. In Egypt, when the initiate received the wings, the igneous wings, he was decorated in the temple with a pair of wings fixed to his tunic at the level of the heart. So when Jesus of Nazareth spread his igneous wings, he was personally decorated by the Pharaoh of Egypt. And the position in which Jesus laid down to go in the astral was like that of Chakmul. You guys remember Chakmul? They said, by the way, I'm pretty sure they said Jesus went to, well, didn't they say he went to Egypt? I've freaking read a book about that or something. There's Chakmul again. That position. The position in which Jesus lay down to go into the astral was like that of Chakmul, but with the head very low and without pillows, the soles of the feet upon the bed, the legs bent and the knees raised, and in this way the great Hierophant would fall asleep, playing on his marvelous lyre. The dorsal spine, the whole mantra, Fa, Ra, On, is divided into the 3 syllables, as we said before, Fa, Ra, On. The Fa is that of the musical scale. The Ra is the deep sound. It must be vocalized with the rolling R. Ra. I can barely do it. On reminds us of the mantra Om of India, but the only difference is you're using the N. In general, we can give to the mantra Fa Ra On all the intonation which resounds in all creation within the great Fa. We advise you to vocalize this mentally. The discipline must fall, it's getting late. The disciple must fall asleep singing this mantra with the imagination and willpower concentrated upon the pyramids of Egypt, and it requires practice and much patience. Yeah. The Egyptian mantra that is used in order to project oneself in the astral body is the following. He repeats this so much, man. We get it. Fa, Ra, On. Ra. This mantra is vocalized during those moments of transition between vigil and sleep, having the mind focused on the pyramids of Egypt. The correct pronunciation of this mantra is Fa, Ra, On. This mantra is for astral body projections, and as we already stated, it must be pronounced during the states of transition between vigil and sleep, concentrating the mind on the pyramids of Egypt. That's a pretty cool image to focus on, though, like if you're going to astral project, right? Now, we've already stated that the disciples that do not have the power of astral body projection must first acquire it by vocalizing the mantra Egypto for 1 hour daily. I don't remember him saying that. Do you remember him saying that? The disciple must lie down horizontally, facing up, without rigidity. He must extend his arms to either side of his body and place the palms of the hands on the surface of the bed. The knees must be bent, and thus the soles of the feet will rest upon the bed easily. The entire body must be relaxed limb by limb. In this manner, the disciple must enter into a slumber state and by profoundly breathing chant the mantra Fa Ra On. He will inevitably come out of the physical body without knowing how or when it even happened. Now, the disciple's astral body will unavoidably be projected within the internal worlds, within the fifth dimension. Here, the disciple's consciousness will become fully awakened. In other words, his or her consciousness will become aware of the amazing experiences within those worlds, and he will be able to dedicate himself to the practice of theurgy. Nonetheless, before lying down, one must perform the sign of the microcosmic star. And to that effort, the arms are raised upwards until the palms of the hands touch each other above the head. Thereafter, extend the arms laterally so they remain in a horizontal position, forming a cross with the rest of the body. Finally, coming down, cross the forearms right over left on your chest, touching it within the palms while the fingertips reach the front of your shoulder. So basically, you're making a pentagram, but you're making a microcosmic star with your body. Yes, I'll do it. Hold on. Let me see if I can highlight it. Should be able to. I wish I could do this faster, because I hate pre-recording and editing videos. It takes hours and hours. I don't have the money to hire a YouTube person. All right, here we go. So this is how you do it. In that order. Just make a star. Got it? Y'all see that? Pause it if you need to later. Good. There's actually, you can look up the Gnostic videos. There's plenty of videos on people doing this, like out in the park and stuff. Doesn't look scary at all, does it? Okay. Our adorable Savior of the world, Christ Jesus, used this mysterious clue that only now has been revealed to us when he studied in the pyramids of Khafre. Master Hirokocha, I don't know how to say that, advises the burning of some aromatic substance, some incense, or simply impregnate your room with good perfume. Now empty your mind. Therefore, the clue in order to consciously travel in the astral body is to empty the mind. While laying down with his body, the student will beg his internal God to take him out of his physical body. And after this imploration, the student must empty his mind, because for this practice, it is useless to think. So by comprehending the uselessness of thinking, the student will absolutely clear his mind and not think. Thus, by comprehending the uselessness of thinking, the mind will remain quiet and in silence for this practice. And before anything else, comprehend that in order to consciously travel in the astral body, the process of thinking will be an obstacle. Get rid of it. When we comprehend the uselessness of thinking during this practice, which will take us to inspirational knowledge, then the mind will naturally remain quiet and in silence. There is no need. Wait a minute. There is the need to distinguish between a mind which is quiet and a mind which has to be forced to be quiet. There is a difference. You need to distinguish between a mind which is silent and a mind which is silenced by force. So if you're like me and if you're trying and you're in your head going, stop thinking, don't think, oh, there's a thought, shut up, quit thinking. That's not really a quiet mind. When the mind is quiet and silenced with violence, a secret struggle will begin. And this mind is therefore not quiet, and neither is it silenced. Only when we have comprehended the uselessness of thinking during these practices will the mind remain quiet and in silence by itself. Afterwards, the student must tranquilly fall asleep. And if the student achieves falling asleep without thinking, that is to say, with his mind quiet and in silence, he will then consciously awaken out of his physical body, elevating himself into inspirational knowledge. Therefore, it is indispensable for the dreamer to awaken. It is urgent to awaken the consciousness. And when he's talking about dreaming, he means right now, the dream that we're in now, you and I. If you're hearing my voice, you're in the dream that he's talking about. Wake up. All the human beings travel in the astral body during the hours of sleep, but they disgracefully live in the astral plane with the consciousness asleep. They are sleeping wanderers. Are you a sleeping wanderer? Are you just wandering around the astral realm like sleepwalking at night, not even knowing you're there? The hell are you doing? When the dreamer awakens from his dreams, then he elevates himself into inspirational knowledge. The masters of the White Lodge do not dream. They live at every hour with their consciousness awakened and in the state of vigil, even when the physical bodies are sleeping within their beds. All right, so we're going to get to the secret key here. Now here, I've got to run to the restroom real quick. Sorry, but I'll take a quick music break. But when we come back, one track for the radio station. But when we come back, we're going to get into something where actually like Samael Aun Weor and all the magicians, including Liam himself, agree on this one thing. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for stuff that people agree on, aren't we? Because that helps us find a deeper truth when we can, learn from all these teachers and we find stuff that they actually line up with. We're really, really close to a truth. All right, 1 second. Be right back. We'll get into that and then we'll wrap it up after. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll definitely get into that.
Found my revelry on the highways in
All right, so we're going to get into this next part of Samael Aun Weor's book about his Gnostic Astral Projection methods. We just got through, I guess, hearing about the mantra, the Egyptian mantra, Fa Ra'on, and the how you lay in the bed and all that stuff, that pose. If you guys are listening on the radio station, thank you. Listen live on the Fringe FM. It is 11:05 p.m. here in the natural state, a little bit after midnight Eastern. We used to do this like 5 nights a week, late night, every night. God, wouldn't that be nice again if YouTube hadn't taken over? Anyways, so let's get back to it. Observe. So number 4, the imagination and willpower. There is a key in order to depart in the astral body, which should be performed quickly in those moments of awakening from sleep. Upon awakening, you must close your eyes, and without movement, you must strongly imagine any given place. Do not imagine that you are imagining. It must be done factually. You must feel secure about being in the imagined place, uniting the will with the imagination. It is logical that one will triumph if this union is achieved. Place the imagination into motion and walk in the plane which is being visualized with faith. If this practice is performed without moving in bed, while working with the imagination, which, by the way, in Gnosticism is the, quote, feminine, and the willpower, which is the masculine, bringing these two together, one can go to any place that one pleases. This is achieved through retaining the sleepy state, by imagining the place and by walking with firmness through the use of willpower. This sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? I'm going to take just a side road here with you, taking a right turn at the crossroads. Right, it's dark. It's a dark crossroads. We're going to take a right, and I'm going to tell you something real quick about this. What he just said there, in all of my experience, is 100% spot on. So there's two states, okay? There's there's the hypnagogic and hypnopompic. So one is as you're falling to sleep, you get into that twilight state between sleep and awake, which is a good state to start trying some of these practices, or, well, we'll get into that later. And then there's the other one, hypnopompic, I think is what it's called, and that's right before you wake up. Now, most of us, right before we wake up, we go right through that state, and we just open our eyes. But if you really pay attention, there's a moment when you wake up that your eyes are still shut, your body's not moving, and you're awake. It's just like the hypnagogic state. It's just a real quick transition. But your consciousness is in a perfect place at that moment to do some really, really cool shit. And what he's talking about is using the will, which is something that deeply needs to be studied, in my opinion, when it comes to conscious exploration. Like, all of this stuff could be total BS. It could, all these, I guess, mantras or historical things he's talking about here. I don't know. But I do know, based on my experience, and I can tell you confidently, that combining the imagination with the will is our ultimate magical power. To really study the will, there's a difference between the will and desire. Desire is just desire. It's just like wanting. The will is pretty much like doing something no matter what obstacle is in your way. In esoteric titles, it's kind of like the masculine. And the imagination being the feminine. Imagination is the prima materia So we were told when we were little that it's just your imagination. That part of us was like a made up thing that our mind was doing all the time. But it is, according to all of the stuff that we've studied and all of the esoteric literature, if you like really get deep down in it, the imagination is the starting point of everything, including this reality. It is the ultimate power, the feminine, right? So if you really want to get deeper into that, there's a person that I think you should really follow. We've had her on the show. Her name is Becca Tarnaz, or Rebecca Tarnaz. She's an author and astrologer. She gets into Carl Jung and Tolkien and all kinds of stuff, like really understands what I'm talking about here. Your imagination is your creative power, and your will is how you get it done. So basically what he's saying is if you can master these two forces in that moment, whether it, hypnagogic would be cool, but the hypnopompic, like when you wake up, that moment, that is the perfect time to astral project. And I totally agree with him. In fact, the first OBE I had, I was doing the wake back to sleep stuff. And it wasn't necessarily the way he's talking about it, because I would get up and move around. But your body and your mind is perfect because it's in that like non-thinking state, because you're just relaxed. You don't want to think about nothing. You don't necessarily want to move your body. So just try it. I mean, don't try to do all of this at once, but just start working with your imagination more. And then secondly, in the mornings, just try to catch yourself before you open your eyes. Catch that moment if you can. It's really hard, but once you get good at it, you can do it. All right, moving on. Number 5, the cardiac chakra. Those who want to learn how to leave in the astral body at will, those who want to enter into the Jinn science, Jinn science, to learn how to place themselves within the fourth dimension with the physical body and travel with their physical body to any distant place in the world without the necessity of an airplane. Those who urgently need to awaken their clairvoyance and clairaudience must concentrate their mind daily on the cardiac chakra and meditate profoundly on that marvelous center. And to meditate on the center for 1 hour daily is marvelous. The mantra of this chakra is the vowel O, which is vocalized prolonging the sound like O. I guess he's just going O. But during the former indicated practice, one must pray to Christ, asking him to awaken the heart chakra. And he has this prayer that goes, Her Ram, Ram Her Christ. Her Christ, Christ, Her Hari. So it's Hari, Ram, Ram Hari, Hari Christ, Christ, Hari. And then he keeps going on and on and on. I'll drop that in the chat because I'm not going to sit here and say the whole thing. It's crazy. It's not crazy. It'd just be weird to do it. But it's like Hari Murari, Modap Koiptus, Hari Kopo Govind, Mukam Sonre, blah, 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 blah. I'll drop the whole thing in the... Let me see if I can drop it in the... Will it let me drop it in the chat, or do I have to wait until the freaking video's over? I'll have to wait till the video's over. Damn it. Anyways, the devotee must fall asleep with the head towards the north or towards the east. First of all, it's necessary for the devotee to learn by heart these mantras from India. Thus, while the devotee is laying down dorsal and on his back, face up, he begs, calls, and invokes with all of his soul the master, Lakshmi, in order for the master to take him out consciously and positively in the astral body. It's necessary to call Lakshmi in the name of Christ. In the name of Christ, by the glory of Christ, by the power of Christ, I call upon the Lakshmi, Lakshmi, Lakshmi. Amen. And his invocation is repeated thousands, imagine that, thousands of times, supplicating the master, Lakshmi, to take you consciously out of the physical body and teach you how to travel consciously in the astral body. And after making this invocation, recite the Sanskrit mantras thousands of times with the mind concentrated on the Christ, and calmly fall asleep while making the invocation. And when you wake up, practice a retrospective exercise to remember where you were, where you walked, and whom you were speaking. It's necessary to ask Lakshmi to teach you how to go into the astral world consciously, to learn how to go out consciously in the astral body. It's necessary to have patience, as great as of Saint Job. That's a fact, too. It really is. Like if you got ADD and you give up on stuff easily, this stuff ain't for you. Like getting out of body, even without doing all this stuff he's talking about, because I don't know if it works. I haven't really practiced his stuff. Well, a couple things I have. Let us remember that the degree of the apprentice is 7 years long, and that only after 7 years do the first flashes of illumination begin. And we give this caution so that the student knows what to expect. It is best for the curious, the profane, and the profaners of the temple to withdraw. This science is not for the curious, but only for the dedicated. The invocation of the Master Lakshmi is magnificent, marvelous. However, the Gnostic student must help himself, must concentrate on the navel. He must fall asleep by chanting the mantras mentally. Thus, when he finds himself somnolent, when he feels that lassitude characteristic of sleep, he should imagine himself to be a breeze, a gas, anything subtle, to feel that he is completely aerial and gaseous. Thus, feeling oneself in that state, aerial and subtle, one forgets the heaviness of the physical body and thinks that one can fly anywhere because one no longer has weight of any kind, thus forgetting one's physical body and feeling like a cloud, aroma, breeze, divine breath, etc. One must leap up from bed. Do not try to leap up mentally. It is urgent for all of this to be translated as action, as concrete acts. And once outside of the body, leave your house and direct yourself in your astral body towards the Gnostic church or towards whichever place you want to go. One can travel to other planets within the astral body. One can visit the most distant places of the cosmos, the temples of the mysteries, etc., within the astral body. Yeah, Becca Tarnez, that's it. So look, if you go back in Lighting the Void and listen to, I think, Becca Tarnez, I remember her. I remember how much I was enamored with that woman. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but her work is magnificent. And she understands the imagination, the feminine, how it really works and what it's, I can't even put words to it. Yeah, go back and listen to that show and then maybe go to her website or listen to some of her older shows where she really talks about that. Number 7, these are all different astral things. Number 7, it looks like Yagüe. In the jungles of the Amazon, the Putumayos, a portentous plant named Yagüe, exists. Yagüe. Biachis, or curanderos, of the tribes take an infusion of that plant mixed with guaromo. I'm not a shaman. I don't know what this stuff is. And thus project themselves into the astral. They take this infusion daily for certain periods of time. Thus, this is how they acquire the faculty of astralizing themselves. And after a while, they do not need to drink it anymore, since they no longer need it, because this faculty is endowed permanently within them. Editor's note. However, we do not recommend that Gnostic students who do not have the faculty of consciously projecting into the astral drink this infusion. What we do recommend is much practice, and soon they will instantaneously attain conscious astral projection. Yeah, I can tell you too, the whole plant medicine stuff and all that stuff kind of is a bit, it's just like alchemy, right? So spagyric alchemy is pretty safe, but once you start doing elixirs and drinking it, or you get into shamanic plant medicines and things like that, I mean, we don't even know for a solid fact, that all of the shamans out there know exactly what the hell they're doing. They have based a lot of what they're doing on experience, but man, Here's the thing about plants that I want to tell you guys about. I'm not saying don't do psychedelics, but like pretty much all plants, even edible plants, even the stuff we eat, vegetables, every plant has some kind of enzyme that it uses to protect itself. Something. Meat is different. Actually, even our biology that likes to eat meat a lot better than plants. But plants have, they all have some kind of defense mechanism in them. Certain things, you could be allergic to certain things. Like, I'm just saying, be careful when you start going down that road. Your heart rate's usually all over the place too when you're on psychedelics. Be careful. This is definitely not like a medical channel or anything like that, or even a shamanic channel. But anyways, he even says it in his book. He recommends not taking that stuff. But anyways, number 8, mantra rusti. The Gnostic procedure in order to depart in the astral body is very simple. The Gnostic takes advantage of the natural state of transition between vigil and dream in order to leave his physical body. This is done naturally, as when one is walking out of his home. The individual simply pronounces the mantra rusti. And in the moment when he is getting drowsy, he gets out of his bed, not with the mind, not with the imagination, but as if he is really doing it with his body of flesh and bones. That's how I got out of body. Hence, the physical body remains within the bed, and the mantra is pronounced many times like rusty. I don't know. He's big into the mantra stuff. I can tell you when I got out of body, I was listening to Hemi Sync. I did the wake back to sleep, and I literally just sat up like I was sitting up out of my bed. It felt exactly the same. No different. There's another mantra called Egypto. This power is acquired by vocalizing daily an hour the sacred name Egypto. The vowel E makes the thyroid gland vibrate and grants the initiate the power of the occult ear. The G awakens the chakra of the liver, and when the chakra has reached its full development, when the initiate can enter and leave the physical body in time at will, the vowel I, combined with the letter P, develops clairvoyance in the initiate and the power to depart in the astral body through the window of Brahma, which is the pineal gland. Pronounce the letter E or I with the force of the vowel O, which is intimately related with the chakra of the heart. And this is how the initiate can acquire the power to protect the self through this plexus and thus travel in his astral body. The correct pronunciation of this mantra is Egypto. Egypto. I don't know if I'm doing the I right. I know I'm doing the E and the O right. Egypto. Could be Egypto too, so I don't know. He doesn't differentiate. And those who still do not have the ability to project themselves in the astral body with our clues lack this power. Therefore, they must first acquire it by vocalizing daily for 1 hour the name Egypto. This mantra develops the chakras related within the projection of the astral body completely, and this is how the disciple acquires the power of entering and leaving the physical body at will. And once the power for astral projection is acquired, the disciple will enter and leave the physical body at will. Okay. Number 10, he calls this method the Holy Eight method. Now this is pretty simple. I kind of like this one. And guess what? It works. According with the former description of the following exercise is suggested, withdraw all types of thought forms from your mind. Once you've done that, it may take some time, but once you've removed all thought forms from your mind, now imagine the holy number 8 as it is represented in the following graphic, which is the infinity sign. So imagine an 8 laying on its side. You got the infinity sign, the same sign above the magician card and the strength card in the tarot, right? Allow the figure itself to submerge with your consciousness, and thereafter, while falling asleep, empty your mind without thinking in anything. And after a while, you will awaken your consciousness in the astral plane. That actually works. I did do that. Last time we talked about this book, I did that for a while, and I didn't get all the way out, but I had some crazy vibratory effects, but it took me like 3 or 4 days of just like thinking about the, like focusing on the image of the infinity symbol. Pretty weird. How much time I got here? Okay. Lord's Prayer, number 11. The Pater Noster, or Lord's Prayer, is the most perfect prayer because it has 7 magical petitions. It has asana, posture. The student, you must lie down on the floor so that you can spread out your arms and legs to each side until you form the 5-pointed star. Do you guys need an image for that? I'm sure you know how to like spread yourself, like lay on the floor and just kind of make an angel. Spread your legs out, spread your arms out, make a 5-pointed star. And relax all of your body. Do not think about anything. And place your mind in blankness. Concentrate your mind on your inner God and start praying the Pater Noster extremely slowly. And think about the sense of each petition. Become sleepy. Fall profoundly asleep while meditating upon each word, upon each phrase, worshiping. You must not move when you wake up. Be motionless and practice a retrospective exercise in order to remember your internal experience. Remember where you were, what places you visited while in the astral body, what you did, what you saw, etc. This practice must be performed daily without ever becoming weary. Seeing and hearing the great internal realities must be your goal. So some of these are pretty simple. Like, you don't have to try to do all of these. You can just focus on one of these and just try it over and over and over again until something happens. And so this is what kind of makes me wonder, is it really the method that he's talking about that makes it happen? Or is it the fact that your will is doing it so much that your subconscious takes over and you believe it's going to happen, and then you will it, and the next thing you know, it happens. Anyways, that's a left turn on the dark road at night. Here's another mantra called Mantra Lifaros Ligoria. It is necessary that our Gnostic disciples learn how to leave the physical body in order to travel with their internal vehicles with complete cognizance in order to penetrate within the distant Sephirotic regions. He's talking about the tree of life. It is necessary to directly know the 12 spheres of universal vibration, where all of the beings of the universe develops and lives. The disciple must concentrate on the chakra of the heart, which is where the divine cosmic mother abides. The disciple must beseech Sephira, the mother of the Sephiroth. The disciple muse, it says muse, but I think that means must beg her to take him out of his physical body in order to take him to the distinct department of the kingdom in order to directly study the Sephira of Kabbalah. The disciple must pray and meditate abundantly on the Divine Mother while mentally vocalizing the following Kabbalistic mantras. Lifaros, Lifaros, Licanto, Ligoria. That kind of sounds cool, don't it? That actually sounds pretty cool. I wonder if I can put a little reverb on it and make it sound even cooler. Right? Maybe. Hold on, let's try this. I don't even know if I know how to do this. There it is. Lifaros. Is it on? Okay. Or if I can. Lifaros. That sounds demonic. I don't want to do it like that. Anyways, this sounds pretty cool, right? Lifaros, Licanto, Ligoria. I could say that. I don't know why I like saying it. I could say that over and over again. Vocalize these mantras by syllabifying them. Remember to syllabify it. I keep forgetting Samael Aun Weor, man. He's like a Spanish dude, so he kind of English is. You should listen to some of the lectures. They're funny. Vocalize these mantras by syllabifying them. If you can carefully observe the intelligent phonetic structure of these mantras, you will see the three vowels in this mantra, E, A, O, of the great mysteries. Yeah, Lepharos is E, Lecanto A, Logoria is O. That's interesting. E, A, O, or IAO, is hidden and combined in these sacred mantras of Kabbalah. The disciple must become sleepy while mentally vocalizing these four Kabbalistic mantras, and it is necessary to practice a retrospective exercise when awakening from our normal sleep, this in order to remember what we have seen and heard during the dream. And of course, you could do autosuggestion, which is number 13. So before you fall asleep, do the following exercise of autosuggestion. I am going to sleep, so wherever I appear now will be in the astral plane because I am in the astral body. I will recognize myself. I will recognize myself. I will recognize myself and direct myself to the Gnostic Church. You can do this autosuggestion for half an hour and then peacefully fall asleep. And then once you're in the astral plane, you'll mathematically recognize yourself. And at the time of awakening, do not move. Do a retrospective exercise in order to remember where you have been. I think we'll do the other 15 maybe tomorrow night or something. I'm too tired to go through all these, man. I'm exhausted, actually. Just talking about this is making me want to go to sleep. Let me see how many more of these there are, and I'll see if I go through them. You guys on the radio station, you really want more. I see you bleeps, you keep coming in and coming back. You bleeps. I mean bleeps, dots. I'm not trying to call you a name. I can see your dots popping up on the map, is what I mean. Lepharos. That sounds so cool to me for some reason. Lecanto, Logoria. Lepharos, Lecanto, Logoria. Lepharos, Lecanto, Logoria. It sounds like something on like Lord of the Rings or something, right? Like something Sauron would be saying at the top of his tower. Here's another. He's got so many mantras in here. Mantra omnis bom ignios. Put yourself to sleep pronouncing the mantra omnis bom ignios. Like this. Omnis bom ignios. While syllabating the mantra, prolong the sound of each vowel and pray to your innermost to take you out of the body. Then softly get out of your bed and while floating in space, go to the Gnostic Church. What is keynote? Number 15, keynote. In an almost imperceptible manner, a keynote always resounds within the brain of every living being. That keynote is that of the ray to which each person belongs. Each person belongs to a ray and seems to come from the cells of the cerebellum. Some hear the sound of small flutes of the Egyptian ray. Others will hear the gong of the Oriental ray. Others, the roaring of the sea of the lunar ray, etc. If the disciple silences all his thoughts in the calm of the night, he will hear his keynote. Then he can willingly cause that note to vibrate loudly. And when the note is already so loud that it invades and semi-paralyzes the entire body, the disciple must get out of bed and take himself to the Gnostic Church, for the masters of the White Brotherhood will receive him there with an incomparable happiness. Isn't this a lot? This is a lot. I mean, you got people out there that are putting on $400 or $500 workshops trying to help people get out of body. And this guy's like, Just say this mantra 3 times and do it over and over again. You'll get out of body. Just use your will. Speaking of which, number 16, imagination and willpower. If you find yourself dreaming that you are at a certain place and you then awaken, remain still and become sleepy once again with your imagination. Place yourself back into the same dreaming place. When you feel yourself there again, cling to that place of the dream with your willpower, as if trying to continue the dream just as it was unfolding. Imagination and willpower, united in vibrant harmony, is the key to this clue. And in my opinion, this is Joe Roop talking here, the key to everything. Verse 17, this one's called Walking in Faith. While falling asleep, concentrate your imagination and willpower intensely, united in vibrant harmony on a certain place or location. Concentration must be perfect. Then begin walking with faith in the, quote, imagined place. You must not imagine that you are imagining, because that'll mess it up, because the experiment will fail. You must really feel yourself in that imagined place and totally forget your bedroom. This experiment must be done during the state of transition between vigil and sleep. In other words, hypnagogia, right? If I was to give anybody any advice, whether it's, magic, esoteric stuff, or out of body, or just conscious exploration altogether, I would say, look at the imagination like it is the biggest lie that you've ever been told. The word imagination. Actually, the biggest lie that you were ever told was when you were a little kid and you heard this, because I said so. That's why. That was the biggest lie you ever heard. But those people that told you that also told you that when you were seeing things, or when you talked about things, or when you were using your brain that way, they said, you have such a imagination, or that's just your imagination. That is your God power. It needs to be developed deeply, emotionally, and embellished, like big time. Okay, number 18, small jump. Keep in mind that during ordinary sleep, the soul usually wanders in all those familiar physical places or locations. This is why, while in the state of slumber, the soul is occupied with the same labors and toils of daily life. Your etheric body will get up and start doing things that you normally do during the day if you are not awake in your etheric double. Therefore, you must become, remember, Muldoon said the same exact damn thing in his book. These two don't know each other. Therefore, you must become accustomed to asking yourself during your entire routine during the day, where am I? I am within the physical body or out of it. Can always ask yourself this. Always, 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 always. Am I awake? Am I asleep? Am I in the physical body or am I out of it? Location, object, and the other one. I forget the other one. Perception or something. Those 3 things. Where am I? Am I in the physical body or am I out of it? Am I asleep or am I awake? Then you will take a little hop with the intention of floating. This freaking works. All right, I'm going to tell y'all the story. Before we leave tonight, I'm going to tell y'all the story, but let me read what he says here. You'll take a little hop with the intention of floating. It is logical that if you float, it is because you're out of the physical body. However, if you do not float, it's because you're still within the body of flesh and bones. Thus, continue with your everyday life. But if you manage to float, ask your innermost to take you to the Holy Gnostic Church. Now, one must ask this question in the presence of something which attracts our attention, such as a crowd of people, a funeral procession, or a strange object. Many have awakened their consciousness with the formidable clue because upon asking this question, they floated in the air and realized that they were out of the physical body and that their body had been left asleep in their bed. And now this is a formidable clue because the soul wonders when the body sleeps. But the soul can come out of its unconscious slumber with this clue. During your routine day, you must become accustomed to this exercise so that that it be recorded within your subconsciousness. Thus, your subconsciousness will repeat this exercise during sleep. All right. So this works 100%. So he has another book called Dream Yoga. And I was doing several things at once when I had my first like full-fledged like etheric OBE. And yeah, we can get into all the semantics. Are you really out of your body, or, you're not really out of your body, like all that stuff, whatever. Okay. But in his, we're in a different state of consciousness. Let's just call it that so we can all agree. Now, he has a book called Dream Yoga where he tells you kind of the same thing, but that whole book is dedicated to lucid dreaming. But one of his things that he tells you to do is every single day, go outside and try to fly. And I did this. Literally try to fly. It looks ridiculous. My neighbor caught me doing it, like staring up into a tree, trying to launch myself into a tree, even though there's no way it's going to happen because I'm in the physical body. He's like, what the hell are you doing? I even told him I'm trying to fly. Now, I combined that with obviously like hemisync and stuff, but I still believe to this day that was a big, big part of getting out of body and flying around in my yard and all that stuff, because I did the same exact thing. I walked outside, went to the spot where I was doing it every single day, and it wasn't like flying. It was like I focused on a tree limb, that tree right over there across the driveway on the other side. I focused on it and pulled myself towards it like I was on a string or like a zip line. And it felt no different than when I was out there the day before, awake in my physical body, trying to fly. So when he talks about this, like, I know this is real. It wasn't a lucid dream, folks. I have lucid dreams a lot. I know the difference. It was like what you see right now as I'm talking to you. That's what reality looked like. Only except with a slight hum, a little slight kind of, when the TV's barely on kind of hum, and a little bit of, how do I explain it? Dead. It's like dead, this super alone feeling. No one was around. It was really weird, like Twilight Zone kind of feeling, but in a good way. All right, and number 19, energy conservation. If we work correctly, we will organize the psyche. For example, if we do not waste the energies of the emotional center, if we do not waste the energies of the mind, or the energies of the motor, instinctive, sexual brain, etc., then it's obvious that we will create, or we will build, give form to the second psychological body with the saving of such energies in ourselves. Okay, let me read that again where it makes sense. If we do not waste, because his English is weird, if we do not waste the energies of the mind or the energies of the motor, instinctive, sexual brain, then it's obvious that we will create, or we will build, or give form to the second psychological body with the saving of such energies in ourselves. And this is the body of emotions, denominated eidolon, astral body. Each brain or center is a machine that utilizes and transforms specific types of energy. When utilized consciously and intelligently, they harmonize and elevate the human being. Yet when abused or misused, great disequilibrium or imbalance happens. Suffering, illness, and even death can result. So you have these centers. You have sexual, instinctive, emotional, which have superior and inferior feelings. You have motor instincts, and you have intellectual, which also have superior and inferior feelings. So what he's saying is balance all this stuff. Balance all that. The 5 energetic centers that you have. Your brain, which has good and bad thoughts. Your emotions, which you have good and bad energies. Your motor function. your instinctive function, and your sexual functions. Balance all of them. And you'll just get out of body like crazy. In fact, what he's basically saying here is if you were balanced in all of those centers, you would get out of body at will. You could do it right now. Number 20, the magic sound. For the benefit of our Gnostic students, it's useful to establish didactically the skillful succession of these magical sounds. A long and delicate whistle similar to that of a bird. B, the intonation of the vowel E, but as in the word let, like eh, prolonging the sound with the note re of the musical scale, like do, re. So eh. C, sing the R, making it resonate with the musical ti or t, imitating a high-pitched child's voice, something similar to the shrill sound of a hand mill or an extremely fine and delicate motor. I can't do it. I can't. Make the S resonate very delicately like a sweet and gentle whistle. I can't do it. Not right now. I'm too tired. Clarification. A point A is a real and effective whistle. Point D is only similar to a whistle. So the long and delicate whistle to the bird, A, is a real whistle, but the S is like a delicate whistle. The Gnostic student lies down in a position of a dead man, face upwards on his back. I told you, he says weird stuff. Lay down like a dead man. This student splays the toes in a fan shape, feet together at the heels, arms alongside the body, the whole of the physical vehicle well relaxed. And the devotee must repeatedly sing the magic sounds in profound meditation while going to sleep. Number 21. This is a little strange. The elemental of birds. These mantras are found to be closely related to the elemental class of birds, and it is evident that they will effectively assist the devotee by helping in the work of astral projection. Each bird is the physical body of an elemental, and they always assist the neophyte provided that there is proper conduct. If the aspirant is eager for assistance from the elemental class of birds, he must learn to love them, love all the birds. Those who commit the crime of confining creatures of heaven in abominable cages will never receive the help of the birds or the elementals in the birds. Feed the birds of heaven. Transform yourself into a liberator of these creatures. Open the doors of their prisons and you will be helped by them. Little side note there. Number 22, black cat. This is a little creepy. An extraordinary elemental is undoubtedly the black cat. Now I'm going to tell you the following experiment that I performed with this elemental in our home. We had a little black cat, and I intended to gain his love, and it is clear that I achieved it. Is Samael Aun Weor about to tell us a story? Hold on, let me hit the tape recorder. All right, tell us a story. Tell us a story about your black cat. One night, I wanted to perform a transcendental metaphysical experiment. While laying down on my bed, I placed at my side the innocent animal. I relaxed my body perfectly, then I profoundly concentrated upon the sighted feline, begging him to take me out of my physical body. I bluntly confessed that this concentration was long and very deep, and it lasted for about an hour. I became slightly asleep during this intensive concentration, yet, indeed, I had to pass through an extraordinary surprise. That creature seemed to increase its size. Then suddenly, it became a giant of enormous proportions who was laid down at the edge of my bed, and I touched him with my right hand, and it seemed to me that he was made out of steel. He was irradiating electricity. His face was as black as the night. There is no doubt that his body was of the same color. Nonetheless, he had left his animal form and instead assumed a human figure. with the exception of his face, which, even while being gigantic, continued to be that of a cat. Now, this was something abrupt that I didn't expect. I was terribly overwhelmed and a little scared. I conjured him with the conjuration of the 7 of the sage Solomon. The result was that such an enchantment ceased, and thereafter, next to me, was the innocent creature in his cat form again. Now, I was very preoccupied the next day. While walking around the streets of the city, I had thought that fear had been eliminated from my own nature, but behold how such a Nahual had now given me a tremendous scare. My own cat scared me. Nevertheless, in no way was I resigned to lose the battle. Thus, I gave courage to myself, yearningly waiting for the coming night in order to repeat the experiment. So again, I placed the small creature on the right side of my bed, just as I had the previous night. I relaxed my physical body, not leaving a single muscle tense, totally relaxed. Thereafter, I intensely concentrated upon the feline, and within the profundity of my heart intended not to allow myself to become scared once again. A soldier who has been warned about his opponent does not die in the war, but obviously I was already warned about what was going to happen. Therefore, fear had already been frankly eliminated from my interior. After about an hour elapsed, while very deeply concentrated, the exact same phenomena of the previous night repeated, and obviously the elemental of this cat came out of his body in order to assume a gigantic and fearsome human figure. Lying down on my bed, I stared at him, and he was frightening in a great manner, terrifying actually. Indeed, his body was so enormous that it did not fit on my bed. His legs and feet were hanging over my humbled bed, and what overwhelmed me the most was that this elemental, when abandoning his body, could materialize physically in order to make himself visible and tangible for our senses. I touched him with my physical hands, and he seemed to be made of iron. I saw him with my eyes, and his face was huge. However, this time I was not afraid. I intended to exercise complete control over myself. Thus it is clear that I achieved it. Then, addressing him with a gentle and firm voice, I demanded that he take me out of my physical body by saying, "Little pussycat, get up from this bed." This guy is so weird. When I said this, the giant stood on his feet, and thereafter I continued commanding him by saying, "Now take me out of this physical body, take me in my astral body." And when saying these last words, this extraordinary giant answered me with the following words: "Give me your hands." Clearly, I lifted my hands. That moment, the elemental took advantage of in order to pull me and take me out of my body. Such a strange being was endowed with a terrifying force, but he irradiated love, actually. And it is clear that he wanted to serve me. Thus, this is how the elementals of nature are. So, already in my astral body, next to my bed, and having this mysterious being as my companion, I took the floor in order to command him again like this: "Take me to the center of the city of Mexico." "Follow me," was the answer of this colossus, and he left the house, walking slowly, and step by step I followed him. We walked through the distinct places of the city until arriving at San Juan de Letran. There, on a given street, we stopped for a while, and it was the middle of the night, and I was longing to make a happy end of this experiment. I saw, from the 5th dimension into the 3rd dimension, a group of gentlemen chatting on a corner. They were in their physical bodies, therefore it's unquestionable that they did not perceive me. Nonetheless, I wanted to become visible and tangible before them. Such was my intention. Then I addressed the giant, that Nahual of marvels and prodigies. In a sweet yet impenetrative tone, I gave him a new command: "Pass me now to the world of 3 dimensions, into the physical world." The elemental Nahual then placed his 2 hands over my shoulders and at the same time applied pressure upon them, and I felt that I was abandoning the astral world and entering into the physical world. Hence I became visible and tangible before the gentlemen who were gathered in that place. Approaching them, I asked, "Hey, what time is it, gentlemen?" 12:30 at night. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to tell you now that I come from the invisible regions, and I wanted to become visible and tangible in front of you. Strange words to say, somebody, indeed. Those men looked at me with wonder, and I continued telling them, "So long, sirs. I return again to the invisible world." And thus I begged that elemental to pass me again into the supersensible regions. It is unquestionable that the creature obeyed with the very act. I could see the amazement of all those gentlemen. They filled with terror and panic and left in a hurry from that place. New commands given to the elemental giant were enough in order for him to return me back to my house. And upon returning to my bedroom, to my chamber, I saw that this mysterious conscious being was losing his gigantic size and was precisely entering through the pineal gland, which, as is known, is situated in the superior part of the brain, into his small feline body that was laying down upon the bed. I did the same thing. I placed my astral feet over the sided tiny gland of the physical body, and thus I soon felt myself inside of my dense body, and I awoke in my bed. I looked at the little pussycat, and I caressed him a bit. I gave him thanks and told him, "I thank you for your granted service. You and I are friends." Since then, my dear friends, I know that cats, these feline elementals, can be ideal for all aspirants who seek to enter into the realm of a superior life. With these types of nahuals, any occultist can learn how to project himself consciously and positively in the astral body. What's important is to not be afraid. One needs a lot of courage. And it's good to mention that for these types of psychic experiments, it is essential that the color of the cat be black. That's a trippy ass story, man. You know, sometimes I wonder if Samael Aun Weor is like a half genius, half schizophrenic. I don't know. If you listen to, I think they still have their own radio station too. It's like Gnostic Radio or something. I hope they didn't get rid of it. But I used to listen to their lectures at night too. But this guy's out there, man. He could be right, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's talking about the imagination, the astral body, the will. Anyways, 23, Master Ilanos. Within his body, well relaxed, the aspirant will lay down. He'll get a little bit drowsy and then vocalize with his mind the following prayer. Ilanos, 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 help me. La Mador. La Mador. Lanos, Lanos, Lanos. Janos, actually, not Lanos. So it's Janos, Janos, like Jack. Then when the disciple finds himself drowsy, half asleep, he must sit up softly in his bed, throw the blankets off of him, and get out of bed. Thus, once he's standing on the floor, he must jump, with the intention of floating within the air. If he floats, then he must leave his house while floating in the atmosphere, pronouncing the invocation of the Master Janos in the same way as he was in bed. So, lay down. Only vocalize it in your mind. Janos, 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 help me. Jama, door, Jamos, Jamos, Jamos. And then when you get drowsy, sit up, take off your blankets, get out of bed, and jump and see if you float. Hold on. Oh no, I didn't mean to hit that button. Whole shit. I gotta fix something. Hold on. I didn't mean to hit that. This is gonna screw everything up. We're almost done. This one's called Flower of Night. Paracelsus states that we need to harness the elementals of nature to the chariot of science in order to fly through the air, to ride the eagle, to walk on water, to travel to the most distant places of the earth within a few moments. Elementals can help us with astral travel. Elementals that can help us with astral travel do exist. Let us remember the elemental of the Datura, arborea tree. The Datura arborea tree that is known in different countries as borrachero or angel's trumpets. Oh, no. No. Flower of the night. This elemental can take any human being out in his astral body into the astral world. It is enough for the Gnostic student to always have one of these trees in his home. Let me explain something to you guys very carefully, okay? Those angels' trumpets, do not consume them. Do not inhale them. Do not. As long, okay? Just telling you that. It's enough for the Gnostic student to always have one of these trees in his home. It is necessary to gain the affection of the elemental of the tree, and during the night, the Gnostic student concentrates on the elemental of the tree. He will vocalize the syllable Kam, K-A-M, many times, and then fall asleep, begging the elemental of the tree to take him from the physical body into the astral body to whatever remote part of the world of the infinite cosmos. Oh, man. This dude I met in Florida, put some of that stuff in his drink and ate some of those things, like angel trumpet, man. So what he's saying here is just have one in your house, but do not eat or drink or consume that. If it don't kill you, you're going to have the worst trip you ever had in your life, and you'll be in jail. This plant elemental will help all those who in truth know how to ask with faith and love. The Datura arborea tree is known as the Floripondio in Peru, the Gigantin in Bolivar, Colombia. Many people triumph with these practices immediately because they are hypersensitive. Yet on the other hand, people who are not hypersensitive exist as well, and these people need to practice a great deal in order to maintain victory. Told you, man, that plant medicine, you just don't know. You don't. Number 25, the magical egg. The egg has special powers that allow us to place the physical body in the jinn state. Here's the procedure. The disciple, what's up, Freighter Xavier? That's cool. The disciple will slightly boil an egg in water. In other words, he will cook it for a very short time. Thereafter, he will make a hole in the egg on the conical side. Then, by means of a very thin device, he will extract the yolk and white. The shell of the egg possesses the powers of the god I'm sure Minded Magic's familiar with, Harpocrates. The forces of Harpocrates are a variant of the Christic forces. Sequentially, the disciple will place the eggshell on the bed next to his head. Then the disciple will imagine himself inside that shell, and the disciple will invoke Harpocrates and will ask Harpocrates to transport him with his physical body to whatever place the disciple wishes to go. Thus, while keeping the slumber state as a somnambulist, the disciple must get up and hold the eggshell, and then he will leave his bedroom while saying, "Harpocrates, help me, because I am leaving with my physical body." This might actually work, so be careful with this one. I don't know. But this is how the disciples of our Gnostic groups will place their physical body within the internal worlds. This is how they will go in bones and flesh to the Holy Gnostic Church. And this is how they will receive communion of bread and wine and attend the Praetor. This is how disciples will know the great mysteries without the necessity of damaging their minds with the theories and sterile discussions of spiritualist schools. I will say this thing about this guy, this Samael Aun Weor guy. He is one cocky son of a buck. All right, so number 26, Jayo, the elemental magic of Jayo, or coca leaves. And he has this kind of like a song, right? It says, "The word of the Lord came to me. What do you see, Jeremiah?" "I see the branch of an almond tree," I replied. "The Lord said to me, you have seen correctly, for I am watching to see that my word is fulfilled." That's in the Bible, the Holy Bible. And as we study these symbolic verses of the prophet Jeremiah, we find that the almond rod represents the rod of the magician. In its purely vegetal aspect, the almond tree conceals a vegetable secret that Jeremiah did not want to disclose to the profane ones, and behind the almond tree, the Jayo, or coca, hides. This wonderful plant serves for astral projection. The mantra of the Jayo is Boya, Boya, Boya. There is a secret formula to prepare with the Jayo, a potion that allows the magician to astral project, and I will be careful not to divulge that sacred formula because humanity is not prepared to receive it. Huh. Well, why the hell even tell us about it? I hate when they do that stuff. I know a really dark secret, but I'm not going to tell you. Irineo, father of the Jayo, is a great master of the Maya ray. The Jayo elemental, with its pure gold body and beautiful garments, looks like a maiden of the extraordinary beauty. And in the ancient Rome of the Caesars, the Roman magicians used Jayo a lot for our great works of practical magic. I told you, man, this book was a little crazy. So, if you're into this type of Gnosticism, there's some pretty interesting stuff. I'm not, like I said, I like to explore pretty much everything and try to figure out the parallels of everything, you know. So the magician will say this happens, the out-of-body traveler says this, the Gnostic says that. If we can find something that they all agree upon without talking to each other that happens to them, usually that's where we're going to find some kind of truth in our conscious explorations. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can look up all his books by Samael Aun Weor. He goes into alchemy and the Kabbalah and the tarot, the Aquarian message, Aztec, Paracelsus, Egyptian. It's some pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, good times tonight. All right, man, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening on the radio station, also listening on TuneIn, TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app. If you can, on the radio side, please keep supporting the radio station. You guys are keeping it alive over there, so thank you so much. Long live radio. We're going to be here till it's dead. If radio dies, we'll be the last broadcast, if YouTube hasn't completely taken over the earth. I really think YouTube is some kind of like supervillain. All right, we're out of here. Good night, guys. Love you. You can get that book too. I'll leave the links in the description later. Good night.